Okay, so this is for unseen fieldwork, which is the second half of paper 3. So after you've done your pre-release, your 9 marker should look something like this. You know, once you get your 9 marker done, you'll turn over, it'll say end of section A. You're going to be turning on to section B now. Now section B will have this first part, which is fieldwork. So I'm going to go through some random questions just to familiarize you guys with like what kind of questions they could throw at you. So it's fieldwork that's already been done. So let's have a quick look at some of these questions. Study figure 4, information about visitors to Bournemouth, a coastal town. So you can see it's a survey. So you need to clock on to things like, okay, it's a survey of 100 people. You need to be critical, thinking, okay, 100 people, is that a huge sample size? It was done on a Saturday, so you need to look at little things just to get an idea. So the origin of visitors, where they came from, it shows you, you know, I can see a lot of people came from the southeast, and their spending, like what they spent kind of like most of their money on. Okay, food and drink, it looks like it's pretty high. The first question asks you, okay, complete the map below to show the origin of visitors. So Yorkshire and Humber, so you should see over here Yorkshire and Humber is over there, and Yorkshire and Humber, it says it's 6%, so that's pretty easy. 6 to 13%, you just need to, you know, shade in or do the lines of whatever color it is. Describe the pattern. Okay, describing the pattern, obviously you need to be able to kind of say, you know, most people came from, let's say, the southeast, you could argue. So describing the pattern, you would argue that actually between 0 and 5% were mainly in regions of Scotland, so that's describing the other parts. And can you see between 6 and 13%, which parts are they? You need to be able to describe, you know, identify which part that is. That's East Anglia over here, as you can see. That's that. Okay, let's move on. Look at this question. Suggest one additional question which could be included in the visitor survey. So I'm thinking, looking back at this now, you know, what's another question they could have potentially asked? You know, this only shows you kind of like where they came from and what they spent their money on. You know, you could have maybe asked, like, maybe, you know, how far did you travel? You could have asked maybe kind of like where specifically they came from. Let's just have a quick look at the mark scheme. So 4.3, you know, you could have asked, you know, let's say, you know, what was your specific reason for the visit, or how long did you stay? You know, things like how long did it take to reach Bournemouth? So you could have asked other questions. So you need to think about other additional questions that you could potentially ask. Okay, here are other questions that come up in that kind of like fieldwork section. Look, it shows study figure 6, information about visitors on the main tourist attractions in a city, and it shows you obviously when most people come. Now we can see this is data. Okay, this data should obviously be now presented in a graph. Let's see what kind of graph they use to present this form of data. Now it looks like they used this information to be presented in some form of line graph. Now that's not very clear for me. If I wanted to kind of really see, okay, how many people came in April, it's not the best graph to use. So you'll get questions like this. Suggest a more appropriate method of presenting the data. So you could just argue, you know, a bar chart could be used, or like a bar graph or a pie chart. That gets you 1 mark. Give a reason for your choice. If you're going to go for bar graph, you could just argue, you know, it will be much more easier to interpret. Let's have a look at the mark scheme, what they say. Where is it? No, there we go. Here we go. 4.4, use a bar graph or a pie chart. Why did you use that? Because actually it gives you it shows you kind of like, you know, this continuous data. Okay, the line graph shows you that kind of like continuous data. It gives an accurate number for each month, more accurate than the line graph. Okay, easy to identify the differences. That's the one I said.